It was a quiet morning on Earth. People were going about their usual business, unaware that their entire world was about to change. High above the Earth, in the dark void of space, something was stirring. A message had just been sent, a message that would shatter the peace and security that humanity had known for centuries. Across the galaxy, in a distant corner of the universe, the Galactic Council had made a decision that would forever alter the fate of humanity. The Council, a group of the most powerful and ancient alien species in the galaxy, had decreed that Earth and its inhabitants were a threat to the stability of the cosmos. The reason? Humanity's rapid advancements, unpredictability, and the potential they showed for chaos and destruction. To the Galactic Council, humanity was a ticking time bomb, and they had no choice but to act. As the message traveled across the stars, reaching every corner of the galaxy, the first signs of war appeared. Broadcasts began playing across alien worlds, announcing the Council's decision. A voice, cold and emotionless, echoed through the speakers of every planet and every space station within range. The Galactic Council has declared Earth and its inhabitants to be an existential threat. The war begins now. Prepare for the inevitable extinction of humanity. Back on Earth, the announcement was met with confusion and disbelief. Governments scrambled to understand what was happening. Military leaders gathered in secret rooms, analyzing the strange alien signals that had begun to flood Earth's communications networks. No one knew exactly what the Galactic Council was, or what they were capable of. But one thing was clear: the galaxy's most powerful civilizations had decided that Earth was their enemy. In Washington, D.C., President Lillian Hayes stood in the Oval Office, staring out the window at the vast, peaceful sky. She had just received the news, and it felt impossible to comprehend. Earth had never faced anything like this before. There had been rumors of other alien civilizations, of mysterious ships appearing in the far reaches of space, but humanity had always believed they were safe. After all, Earth was just one small planet, in one small corner of the universe. Who would care enough to attack? But now, it seemed that someone did. The president turned to her generals, her mind racing. "This can't be real. There must be some mistake," she said, though her voice wavered slightly. "What do we know about this Galactic Council?" A grizzled general, his face pale from shock, answered her. "We don't know much, Madam President. The signal we intercepted is unlike anything we've seen before, but it's not a mistake. The message is clear. They're coming for us, and we have no idea why." Back in space, a fleet of alien ships was already en route to Earth. Their arrival was imminent. It was hard to tell exactly how many ships there were, but their sheer size and advanced technology were overwhelming. These weren't ships made from metal and rivets like humanity's own. These were ships that seemed to hum with an eerie, otherworldly energy. They were unlike anything humans had ever imagined. On the ground, chaos began to spread. News outlets broadcast the Galactic Council's announcement, but no one could believe it. People wondered if it was some kind of hoax or an elaborate prank. After all, humans had been fascinated by alien stories and movies for generations. The idea of actual extraterrestrial life was exciting, but also terrifying. To think that these beings were now declaring war on Earth felt like a nightmare come true. In cities around the world, panic began to set in. People crowded into stores to buy supplies, unsure of what was coming. Governments issued statements urging calm, but the truth was that no one knew what to expect. The military began to mobilize, but they had no way of knowing how to prepare for an attack from such an advanced and mysterious enemy. At the United Nations headquarters, representatives from different countries gathered to discuss their next move. The building was filled with tension as leaders tried to figure out how to deal with this new threat. Some called for immediate military action. Others wanted to try and communicate with the aliens, hoping there was a peaceful solution. But as the minutes passed, it became clear that Earth was completely unprepared for this. And then, as if to confirm the worst fears of humanity, the skies began to change. Satellites in orbit detected strange movements, blips on their radar. And then came the first sighting. A massive object, dark and ominous, appeared above Earth's atmosphere. It was too large to be anything human-made, and its structure was unlike anything ever seen before. The object was moving towards Earth, and with it came more ships, more signs that the Galactic Council's declaration of war was not just a warning. It was real. The world watched in horror as the first alien ship descended from the sky, slowly at first, then faster as it drew closer. It was unlike anything the world had ever seen. No one knew what it was capable of, but the message from the Galactic Council had already made one thing clear: Earth was not safe. As President Hayes watched the sky darken with alien ships, she felt a chill run down her spine. There was no turning back now. Humanity had been thrust into a war they hadn't asked for, with an enemy they couldn't possibly understand. But one thing was certain: Earth was not going to go down without a fight. The world was on edge. No one could ignore the massive ships hanging in the sky. They seemed to be everywhere, over cities, oceans, mountains. No one knew how many there were. No one knew if they were armed. No one knew what the aliens wanted. As the first alien craft made its descent, Earth's military forces were mobilizing in a way they had never done before. Tanks rolled across highways, jets soared into the sky, and troops gathered at bases around the world, ready for whatever might come next. But the question on everyone's mind was the same: how could they fight an enemy with technology far beyond anything humanity had ever seen? President Lillian Hayes stood at the center of the chaos, trying to make sense of it all. The eyes of the entire world were on her. The future of humanity depended on the decisions she made in the coming hours. "Madam President," General Archer said, his voice grave, "we've scrambled all of our assets, but we still don't know anything about these ships. No readings, no communications. It's as if they're blocking our radar." Lillian turned to face him. The tension in her eyes was clear. The aliens weren't just here to observe. They were here to make a statement. What about our allies? Have we made contact with any other civilizations? Maybe they know something we don't. We've tried. No response. It's as if the galaxy's entire communication system has been shut down. These ships are operating on a frequency we can't even detect. Lillian clenched her fists, feeling the weight of her position more than ever. If humanity was to survive this, they had to act fast. But how? Over the next few hours, Earth's military attempted to make contact with the aliens, but every effort was met with silence. No messages, no signs of aggression, but no offers of peace either. It felt like the calm before a storm, an unsettling, eerie stillness that held the entire planet hostage. As the alien ships continued to hover ominously, humanity's best minds gathered in underground bunkers, working tirelessly to find a way to fight back. Scientists, engineers, and strategists from all corners of the globe pooled their knowledge and resources, desperately searching for a way to understand the enemy and their technology. "We're not just facing another nation," Dr. Elena Tan, a top military strategist, said. "We're facing something beyond anything we've ever imagined. If they've come to conquer, they must have a reason. But we need to understand their technology if we stand any chance of winning." But while Earth's leaders were deep in their discussions, the rest of the world watched in growing fear. Social media exploded with rumors and theories. Some believed the aliens were here to enslave humanity. Others wondered if they simply wanted to test Earth's defenses. There were whispers that these ships weren't just invaders. They were judges, sent to decide whether humanity was worth saving. In cities around the globe, panic began to spread. People tried to flee to underground bunkers, to safe zones. Stores were emptied of food and water. Governments issued orders for people to remain indoors, but many ignored them, choosing to face whatever came head-on. The streets were filled with chaos, fear, and uncertainty. No one knew what tomorrow would bring. As the night fell, something unexpected happened. A massive beam of light shot down from one of the alien ships, illuminating the sky with a brilliant glow. It was as though the ship was speaking to the planet itself. It was the first sign of communication, and it sent a chill down the spine of every person who saw it. The beam wasn't destructive. Instead, it seemed to be a signal, a call. The light pulsed once, twice, and then vanished, leaving behind nothing but an eerie silence. But what did it mean? In a secure underground command center, President Hayes and her advisors gathered to analyze the strange event. General Archer's voice broke the quiet tension. It could be an invitation, a challenge. They might want us to engage them directly. But why the silence? Lillian asked, staring at the large monitor in front of her, displaying the footage of the mysterious light. Why not just attack? Why play games with us? Dr. Tan's voice was calm but firm. It's possible that they're testing us. They want to see how we respond. If we show weakness, they'll strike. But if we show strength, they might hesitate. Lillian nodded. The stakes were higher than ever. The fate of Earth was uncertain, and humanity was facing an enemy far beyond anything it had ever encountered. But there was one thing that was certain. Earth was about to enter a war, and it would need every ounce of courage, every bit of human ingenuity, to survive. As the night wore on, the alien ships remained motionless in the sky, watching, waiting. For the first time in history, humanity was faced with an enemy it could neither comprehend nor predict. But in that uncertainty, a fire began to ignite in the hearts of the people. If these invaders thought they could intimidate Earth, they were sorely mistaken. President Hayes looked out over the world from her command center, her mind made up. The time for diplomacy was over. Earth would stand its ground. And if the Galactic Council thought it could crush humanity, it would soon find out that Earth had more surprises than they ever could have imagined. The days following the alien arrival were filled with uncertainty. The world's major cities remained under lockdown, their streets eerily quiet, save for the occasional hum of military vehicles moving through the streets. Governments across the globe were scrambling to prepare for the unimaginable. Earth's defense systems, once thought to be the pinnacle of human achievement, were now a fragile line against an enemy with technology far beyond their own. In the heart of the United States, President Lillian Hayes held an emergency meeting with her top military commanders. Satellite images of the alien ships filled the walls of the room, showing their massive size and intimidating structure. They didn't move. They simply hovered over the planet, like massive, silent observers. No one had been able to figure out their true intentions. "We've been waiting for a week, and still there's no sign of attack," General Archer said, his voice full of frustration. "I don't know what they're waiting for, but we can't afford to sit idle much longer. We need to take action." Lillian rubbed her temples, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. "We don't even know if they're hostile. We can't just start firing at them without understanding what they want. What if they're waiting for us to make the first move? Then we're already at a disadvantage," General Tan said, his voice steady. "We need to do something, or we'll look weak. If they attack us first, we'll have no chance." Lillian sighed, looking out the window at the still sky. The ships were still there, hanging silently above Earth. For the first time in her life, she was unsure of what to do next. Humanity had never faced an enemy like this, and the stakes had never been so high. "Prepare the military," Lillian finally said, her voice resolute. "But do not fire unless we are attacked first. We need to send a message to the galaxy that Earth will not be intimidated. We will fight back, but only if necessary." Elsewhere, a quiet rebellion was starting to brew. Not in the dark corners of Earth, but in the hearts and minds of everyday people. Around the globe, the message from the Galactic Council, that humanity was an existential threat, had struck a nerve. Many could not accept the idea that Earth was being labeled a danger without cause. But others were starting to believe the worst. They had seen the alien ships, their vast size, their unyielding presence. How could humanity stand a chance? In every major city, from New York to Tokyo, From Paris to Sao Paulo, people gathered in crowds. Protesters, fearful yet defiant, demanded that their governments act. They shouted, "We will not be slaves," and Earth is not a target. On the other side, military personnel lined the streets, ensuring peace, but the tension was palpable. Everyone knew the aliens were still up there, watching. Despite the chaos, a new unity began to form among the nations of Earth. The war that was coming, whether humanity wanted it or not, was not just an American issue, or a Russian issue, or a Chinese issue. It was everyone's fight. The world's leaders, once divided by borders, now found themselves joining forces. Their differences didn't matter anymore. The fate of humanity was in their hands. At the United Nations, President Lillian Hayes addressed the gathered leaders. She could feel the weight of their eyes upon her, each one searching for direction. For the first time in history, Earth's leaders understood that their unity was the only thing that would keep them alive. "We don't know what the aliens want," she began, her voice calm but firm. "But what we do know is this: we will not go down without a fight. The Galactic Council thinks we're weak, that we can be crushed, but they're wrong." The room was silent. The weight of her words hung in the air like a heavy cloud. "We have no choice but to fight," she continued. "But this fight is not just for our survival. It's for every future generation of humanity. It's for the legacy we leave, and we will not let the stars fall on our children." A murmur of approval spread across the room. The world's leaders, once hesitant, now stood united in purpose. They would fight together, or they would fall together. Back in the skies above Earth, the alien ships continued to watch. They had yet to make their move. But humanity's resolve was already being tested. The quiet silence that had held the planet in suspense for so long was about to break. The question was no longer whether Earth would survive, but what would humanity become in the face of this alien challenge? As military forces began their preparations, new technology, unseen by Earth's citizens, was being developed in secret. Scientists, engineers, and strategists around the world worked day and night to understand the alien ships, the mystery of their design. Their energy sources and their capabilities consumed every waking moment. If Earth had any chance of winning, it lay in understanding this advanced enemy and their weaknesses. In one lab deep beneath the Earth's surface, Dr. Elena Tan stared at a holographic image of the alien ship. It seemed so much like a floating fortress, smooth, seamless, and nearly impenetrable. "We're not just facing an invasion," she whispered to herself. "We're facing something that's evolved beyond war itself." But no matter how advanced the enemy might be, Earth had something they didn't. Something the Galactic Council didn't count on. Humanity had a fighting spirit that no alien ship could contain. And now, the time to fight was drawing near. As the world held its breath, President Hayes made her final command: initiate the response protocol. Let them know we're not backing down. And so, humanity's first strike began, not with weapons or bombs, but with a message to the stars. We will not be intimidated. We will not surrender. In the days following President Lillian Hayes' declaration, Earth's military forces were on high alert. Every nation had aligned itself under a single banner: humanity's survival. The unity of the world was stronger than ever, but with the ever-present shadow of the alien ships hanging above them. The question remained: would this new alliance be enough? As the alien ships hovered silently above Earth's major cities, humanity's scientists and military experts worked around the clock to uncover the secrets of the invaders' technology. Satellite imagery of the alien ships was shared across the globe, and the most brilliant minds of Earth were focused on deciphering every detail, from the material of the ship's outer shells to the strange energy signatures radiating from their engines. But despite their best efforts, nothing seemed to make sense. The aliens had designed ships unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, perfectly smooth, seemingly indestructible, and emitting strange, unfamiliar electromagnetic pulses. Earth's best weapons were helpless against their might. No missile, no bomb, no laser weapon had any effect. It was as if the invaders were simply too advanced. For days, President Hayes had refused to make a single aggressive move. Earth's forces were poised, waiting for an attack, but they had no idea what the aliens were planning. They didn't even know if the aliens intended to invade or merely observe. But something about the silence, the stillness of those ships hanging overhead, was starting to get under everyone's skin. It was like they were being studied, examined, like they were part of some galactic experiment. Then something unexpected happened. A low hum vibrated through Earth's atmosphere, sending ripples of unease throughout the planet. It was faint at first, almost imperceptible, but within hours it grew louder. Scientists tracked the disturbance to its source. One of the largest alien ships had begun to emit a powerful, continuous energy pulse, sending waves of interference through Earth's communication systems. "Something's happening," Dr. Elena Tan said, staring at the glowing screen in front of her. "This pulse, it's not random. They're doing it intentionally. It's as if they're testing us." President Hayes stood at the head of a strategy meeting, the room thick with tension. General Archer glanced at the map on the table, his mind racing. "They're trying to weaken our communications," he said. "It's a strategic move to make sure we can't respond or coordinate. But if we can find a way to counter this, we could have an edge." "We don't know how to counter it," Lillian replied, frustration growing in her voice. "Every attempt to jam their signal has failed. Every one of our satellites that tries to get close enough to analyze the pulse goes dark." A silence fell over the room as every person present realized the same thing. They were facing an enemy that was capable of shutting down the most advanced human technology without lifting a finger. "What if we stopped thinking of this as an attack?" Dr. Tan suddenly said, looking up from the display. "What if it's a signal? Maybe the aliens are reaching out. Maybe they want to communicate." The room paused as her words settled in. It was a possibility no one had considered. Could it be true? Could this strange interference be an invitation to communicate rather than a show of dominance? "Let's test that theory," President Hayes said decisively. "Prepare a message, something simple. We'll broadcast it across every frequency we can. If they're trying to communicate, maybe they'll respond." For the first time since the alien ships had appeared, humanity was about to make the first move. But this time, it wasn't with weapons or threats. It was with an offer of peace. Meanwhile, on the alien ships, the commanders of the Galactic Council watched with cold, calculating eyes. Their sensors had detected Earth's message almost immediately, and their response was swift and deliberate. But what was their message? And why had humanity chosen to speak instead of fight? The alien ships remained silent, their engines humming, their massive forms still casting long shadows over the Earth below. Their purpose was clear: observe, analyze, and decide. Were the humans worthy of destruction, or could they be controlled, contained, or even used? Commander Zolkar, one of the leading officers in the Galactic Council, stood before a holographic display, his eyes fixed on the data being collected. "The humans have reacted," he murmured to himself, intrigued. "They are not as weak as we thought. But the question remains, are they a threat or a potential asset?" The Galactic Council had long been involved in the management and control of countless planets across the galaxy. Their empire stretched far and wide, but their encounters with species like Earth had always been brief and largely dismissive. Earth was an anomaly, a planet with potential that had been left to its own devices for far too long. Now the humans had caught their attention. "They think they are reaching out for peace," Zolkar continued, turning to his advisors, "but they do not yet realize that they have already been marked." Back on Earth, the message was broadcast. "We are humanity," the simple message began. "We stand together, united in the face of this challenge. We do not wish for war, but we will fight if we must. We ask for communication, for understanding, and for a chance to prove that we are not the threat you believe us to be." President Hayes stood by the massive communication screen, watching as the words flickered across the screen in various languages. All of Earth, from the remotest villages to the busiest cities, received the broadcast. The entire world waited. For the first time since the alien ships had arrived, humanity held its breath. Would they respond? Was there hope for peace, or had they already made a grave mistake? At that moment, a ripple passed through Earth's communication systems, like a wave in a vast ocean. The aliens had responded, but not with words. Instead, a single symbol flashed across every screen, a symbol that could mean anything. It was an invitation, or perhaps a warning. No one knew. The suspense deepens. With Earth's attempt to communicate, humanity's fate now rests in the hands of the Galactic Council. Will this mysterious symbol lead to peace, or the beginning of a catastrophic war? The symbol flashed across every screen on Earth, sending waves of confusion and fear through the global population. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The shape was geometric, angular, and cold, pulsing with a strange, unnatural glow. For a moment, no one knew how to interpret it. Was it a code? A threat? An invitation? Or perhaps something even more sinister? President Lillian Hayes stared at the symbol, her face pale but determined. She was surrounded by military leaders, scientists, and communication experts, all trying to make sense of the alien message. The room was heavy with tension as everyone realized the same thing. This symbol could be humanity's only chance to understand the aliens, or it could be the beginning of something far worse. Is it a code? General Archer asked, his voice strained. Dr. Elena Tan, the lead scientist, shook her head. It doesn't appear to be anything we've encountered. Our systems can't decode it. It's too alien. The symbol flickered again, this time with more intensity, as though urging them to understand. But instead of easing their fears, it only intensified them. The silence in the room grew unbearable. What did the Galactic Council want? Were they toying with Earth, testing their resolve, or had they already decided humanity's fate? We need to respond, President Hayes said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. We can't wait for them to decide. If we don't act now, we could lose everything. The question remained, how could Earth respond to something they didn't understand? If they were too aggressive, they risked provoking the aliens into full-scale war. If they were too passive, they risked appearing weak. Either way, humanity was on the precipice of an irreversible decision. Far above Earth, within the sleek corridors of the alien flagship, Commander Zolkar stood before his council. The symbol, which had been sent as both a signal and a test, had done its job. The humans' response, or lack thereof, had already begun to shape the council's strategy. The humans have shown their weakness, Zolkar said, his voice cold and precise. They are uncertain, afraid. Their leaders are scrambling to find meaning in our symbol. This uncertainty is an advantage. It is a sign of their fragile minds. The council members exchanged looks, their alien features unreadable. They were beings of logic, but they had learned long ago that humans were unpredictable. It was why they had been watched from afar for so long. Their ingenuity and resourcefulness were impressive, but they were also quick to anger, quick to act without fully understanding the situation. They think they can bargain with us, Zolkar continued, a slight grin forming on his face. They are naive. The humans believe they can convince us to abandon our mission, but they have no idea what they are dealing with. Another member of the council, a being with a silvery exoskeleton and 6 piercing eyes, spoke. But their ingenuity could prove useful. Do not underestimate them. They are not the same as the other primitive species we have encountered. Perhaps their unpredictability is something we can harness. Zolkar's eyes narrowed. We will see. For now, we wait. We will give them time to react. If they do not comply with our demands, we will make an example of them. Back on Earth, the world was on edge. The symbol had sent shockwaves through every nation, but there was still no clear answer to what it meant. Political leaders scrambled to form a united front, but divisions began to appear. Some pushed for immediate retaliation, arguing that humanity could not show any weakness. Others believed that Earth should wait. Try to understand the alien response before making any rash moves. In the White House, President Hayes convened a top-level meeting with her closest advisors. The situation was becoming increasingly dire, and the pressure on her was immense. She knew that every decision could lead to either peace or total annihilation. The weight of the world was on her shoulders. "We've analyzed the symbol for hours now," Dr. Tan said, her voice tinged with frustration. "We've scanned every possible frequency, every possible interpretation, but nothing gives us a solid answer. I believe the symbol is a test. They want to see how we react, how far we're willing to go." President Hayes nodded slowly. "And if we fail the test, then we risk triggering a war," Dr. Tan replied, her eyes meeting Hayes. "A war we may not be prepared for." General Archer leaned forward. "We need to show strength. We need to show that we're not afraid of them. But we also need to be smart. We can't provoke them unless we have no choice." The debate continued, but as the minutes ticked by, Hayes felt the pressure mounting. Every second counted. The Galactic Council was watching, waiting for humanity's next move. Would they remain passive, allowing the aliens to dictate the terms of their future? Or would they find a way to outsmart their invaders? Far away, in the darkness of space, the alien ships continued to orbit Earth, silent and looming. The Galactic Council's fleet was waiting, watching. They had made their move. And now it was Earth's turn. Commander Zolkar's eyes flicked toward the holographic display in front of him, which showed a map of Earth. The human response, or lack thereof, was already sending ripples across the Council's calculations. A decision had to be made soon. They could either conquer the planet with overwhelming force, or they could manipulate the humans into submission. "Prepare for Phase 2, Zolkar ordered, his voice cold. "The humans are more than just a threat. They are an opportunity, and we will make them understand their place in the galaxy." Back on Earth, the world held its breath. Every nation, every leader, every citizen waited for the next move in this intergalactic chess game. But as humanity prepared for the unknown, one thing was certain. The battle for survival had only just begun. The aliens had made their intentions clear. They were here to test humanity, and Earth had to decide whether to fight back with everything they had or risk losing everything in a quiet, unseen war of uncertainty. The days following the appearance of the alien symbol were filled with a strange, uneasy silence. Earth's leaders had made their choice. They would not bow down without a fight. Yet even as military forces were mobilized, a nagging uncertainty lingered. What if they were making a mistake? What if provoking the aliens would lead to the end of humanity? President Lillian Hayes stood at the window of the war room, her eyes scanning the horizon as if hoping for some sign that this conflict could be avoided. But deep down, she knew that the calm before the storm was merely a fleeting illusion. The Galactic Council was not waiting. They were preparing for the next phase, and humanity had little time left to respond. In the chambers of the UN, representatives from across the world gathered in tense silence. Military leaders, diplomats, and experts in alien technology were all present, each grappling with the same question. What was Earth's next move? General Archer stood at the front, his hands clenched into fists. He had never been one to back down from a challenge, but the alien forces they were up against were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. He'd spent the past several days studying the alien fleet's capabilities, but even the most advanced technology Earth had could not compare to what the Galactic Council had at their disposal. "We have to take action now," Archer said, his voice carrying the weight of urgency. "We cannot allow them to make the first move. The symbol they sent us was a test. They want us to show our hand, to see how we react. We can't let them see our fear." "But what if their response is worse than we anticipate?" one of the diplomats asked, her voice quivering. "What if provoking them means certain destruction?" "We cannot afford to hesitate." Archer replied firmly. "We've seen their power. If we wait too long, we risk losing everything." As the debate continued, the reality of the situation began to settle in. The world was now united in its determination to stand up to the Galactic Council, but the uncertainty of what would come next weighed heavily on every leader, every soldier, and every citizen. Far away, high above Earth, the alien fleet had begun to stir. In the dark expanse of space, the fleet of warships hovered in perfect formation, their sleek, metallic surfaces reflecting the light of distant stars. Commander Zolkar observed his fleet from the command center, his sharp eyes scanning the data streams. Earth was making its move. Finally. "They are preparing for war," Zolkar said, his voice cool and emotionless. "They believe they can defy us. They believe they have a chance to win." His second-in-command, a tall figure with shimmering scales, nodded. "They are foolish. Their forces are weak compared to ours." Zolkar's lips curled into a smile. "Perhaps. But we must consider their unpredictability. Their desperation could lead them to do things we haven't anticipated. We must be prepared for anything." The Council had expected Earth's response to be swift, but they had not anticipated the sheer determination humanity was now showing. Zolkar had underestimated the strength of the human spirit, and now, as he watched the Earth's preparations unfold, he realized just how dangerous they could be. Back on Earth, the world's militaries were now in full motion. Satellites and defense systems were deployed, and fleets of ships were assembled to stand ready. The United States had joined forces with Europe, China, Russia, and every other major nation to form a united front. If the Galactic Council thought they could crush humanity easily, they were about to find out just how wrong they were. Despite the fear that still lingered in the hearts of many, something had changed. The silence that had once filled the air was now replaced by the hum of engines and the roar of warships being prepped for action. Humanity was no longer waiting for permission. They were ready to fight. "We're going to need every ship, every soldier, every resource we can muster," General Archer said as he watched the ships take off, one by one. "We're facing an enemy unlike any we've ever known. But we have one advantage. We know how to adapt. We've survived against the odds before, and we'll do it again." President Hayes, standing at her desk, watched the movement of military units and felt the weight of the decisions she had made. Was it too late to turn back? Could there still be a peaceful resolution? The thought gnawed at her, but she knew that no matter the outcome, humanity had to stand tall. "We will not back down," she said firmly, her voice ringing with conviction. "We will show them that Earth is not a planet to be conquered. We are humanity, and we will fight." Meanwhile, in space, the alien fleet moved closer to Earth, their ship's engines glowing with an eerie, pulsating light. Commander Zolkar's fleet was vast, its numbers staggering. But even as he observed the gathering forces of humanity, he couldn't help but feel a slight twinge of unease. The humans were unlike any other species he had encountered. They were not simply fighting for survival. They were fighting with something more: hope. He couldn't deny the strength that radiated from their every move, the sheer willpower that made them dangerous. "We must strike soon," Zolkar ordered, his voice cold and deliberate. "The humans have chosen their path, and so must we." The alien ships prepared for battle, their weapons primed, their systems locked in. The moment of truth had arrived. Back on Earth, the countdown had begun. Every nation was on high alert, ready for the conflict that was about to unfold. The world's leaders, scientists, and military commanders had given everything they could to prepare for the worst. Now, all they could do was wait for the first move. Across every screen, the world watched, breathless, as humanity faced its greatest challenge. The Galactic Council had declared war, but Earth would not go down without a fight. The moment of reckoning had arrived. Earth's atmosphere was electric with anticipation as the first wave of alien ships descended upon the planet. On the ground, the world's military forces held their breath, waiting for the order to engage. President Lillian Hayes watched from the command center, her eyes steely with determination. The time for talk had long passed. Now, humanity's fight for survival would begin. The Galactic fleet moved as one, a synchronized force of unimaginable power. Its size and might were awe-inspiring, a dark shadow across the sky. Commander Zolkar observed his fleet's approach, his heartless eyes scanning Earth below. The humans had shown courage in the face of impossible odds, but their courage alone would not save them. They are about to learn the price of defiance, Zolkar muttered coldly, his gaze locked on the planet below. But Zolkar and his fleet were about to learn something too. In the war room, General Archer stood with his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the holographic map of Earth. The world was now united, with fleets and forces from every corner of the globe assembled. The alien ships were massive, their weapons advanced beyond anything humanity had ever seen. But Archer wasn't concerned with size. It was strategy that would win this war. "We need to hit them fast and hard," Archer said. "We don't have the luxury of a prolonged battle. The longer we wait, the more ground we lose." The first wave of alien ships began their descent, their engines glowing ominously as they entered Earth's atmosphere. It was now or never. The world's military commanders nodded in unison. The plan was set. Humanity had prepared for this moment. As the first wave of alien ships neared Earth's surface, humanity's fleets moved into position. Fighter jets, warships, and armored divisions began their coordinated strike. The world's response was swift and relentless, an unprecedented collaboration of military might, united under one cause. The skies lit up with the glow of ion cannons and laser blasts as humanity's forces fired the first shots. Explosions rocked the air as the first alien ships fell, their enormous bodies crashing into the Earth below. But the enemy was far from defeated. Zolkar's fleet fought back with an intensity that shook the atmosphere, their weapons tearing into Earth's defenses. On the ground, soldiers raced to their positions, their faces grim but resolute. This was no longer a war for territory or power. It was a war for the very survival of the human race. The human forces pressed forward, fighting with the fury of those who had nowhere to retreat. Amid the chaos, a new strategy was unfolding, one that would shock the Galactic Council to its core. The humans had spent the past few weeks preparing something extraordinary. They had adapted, they had learned, and now they were using the very things the aliens had underestimated: their ingenuity and resourcefulness. Archer's eyes gleamed with the thrill of realization. "Activate the EMP pulse," he ordered. Across the globe, humanity's hidden weapon came to life. It was a series of EMP devices, massive satellites placed in strategic orbits around the planet. The pulse they emitted was designed to disrupt the advanced alien technology, rendering their ships temporarily vulnerable. It was a gamble, but it was humanity's best chance. As the pulse hit, the alien fleet faltered. For a brief moment, their ships shuddered in space, their advanced weapons systems flickering. Zolkar's face twisted in disbelief. "What is this?" he demanded. "What have they done?" For the first time since the invasion began, the tide had shifted. The humans didn't waste a second. General Archer's command was clear: strike now. The moment the EMP pulse hit, humanity's military forces surged forward. Ships fired with precision, fighter jets darting through the sky, missiles launching with deadly accuracy. Earth's forces were relentless, swarming the alien fleet with coordinated attacks. Zolkar's ships, now vulnerable, were overwhelmed by the sheer force and speed of the human assault. The alien fleet retaliated with all its might, but it was too late. The human forces had learned to fight on their terms. Every strike, every counterattack, was a calculated move designed to exploit the weakness the EMP pulse had created. On Earth, civilians watched from their homes, their eyes glued to screens as the battle raged on above them. Despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, something stirred deep within the hearts of every person on the planet. It wasn't just the sight of destruction or the power of the weapons. It was the knowledge that Earth was fighting back. And they weren't alone. The resistance wasn't just military, it was global. From every nation, every city, every street, humanity had come together to protect what was theirs. The world stood united, its spirit unbroken. And for the first time, the alien fleet saw that. In space, Commander Zolkar's frustration was palpable. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," he ordered, but the humans were relentless. No matter how many ships they destroyed, no matter how much damage they inflicted, Earth's forces kept coming. "This cannot be happening," Zolkar growled. "These humans, they fight like they have nothing to lose." As Zolkar's fleet continued to be pushed back, his mind raced. He had underestimated humanity. They had come together in a way no one could have predicted, and now they were making him pay the price. But the war was far from over. Zolkar knew that the battle for Earth was just beginning. Humanity had proven itself capable, but he had yet to reveal his true power. This fight would only escalate. Back on Earth, as the first wave of alien ships was finally pushed back, the world let out a collective breath. But the victory was only temporary. President Hayes stood before the world, speaking with quiet resolve. "We've shown them that Earth is not to be underestimated," she said. "But this is only the beginning. We will stand united, and we will fight, no matter the cost." And in the depths of space, Commander Zolkar prepared his next move. He knew the humans had proven they were not an easy target, but he was far from finished. The calm that followed the first battle was short-lived. Across the globe, governments and military leaders braced for the next wave. They knew the alien fleet would not give up easily. The war was far from over, and the real challenge was just beginning. President Lillian Hayes stood on the steps of the White House, addressing a nation that had already endured the unimaginable. Her face was resolute, but her eyes betrayed the weight of the responsibility she carried. "We have shown the Galactic Council that we will not surrender," she declared. "But we must prepare for what's coming next. The fight for Earth's future has only just begun. We must stand together." Behind her, soldiers and civilians alike gathered in unity, their spirits unbroken. The battle was far from over, but humanity had found something no alien army could have anticipated: a heart that would not quit, no matter the odds. In the depths of space, the Galactic Council's response was swift. Commander Zolkar's defeat had shaken them to their core. They had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back, and now they were making sure that mistake would never happen again. Zolkar, humiliated and enraged, addressed his fleet in a cold, commanding voice. "They have shown us their strength, but it is time for them to learn their weakness. We will not stop until Earth is crushed beneath our heel." The fleet, now even larger and more formidable, began its approach toward Earth, but the humans were ready. Every nation, every leader, had come together to form the largest military alliance the world had ever seen. Their response would be unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered. General Archer stood before the war room table, analyzing the incoming reports. He knew what was coming. The aliens were regrouping, preparing for an all-out assault. The first battle had been won, but this next one would determine the fate of the planet. Earth had no choice but to fight with everything they had. "We need to hit them with everything we've got," Archer said, his voice grim. "We can't afford to hold back. This is our final stand." On the screens before him, a massive fleet of warships filled the skies. Human-made ships that had been retrofitted with advanced technology and weapons, all designed to turn the tide of battle. The world's best engineers, scientists, and soldiers had come together to create these weapons, and now they would be put to the ultimate test. As Earth's forces prepared for the decisive battle, a strange calm settled over the planet. It was the calm before the storm. Every person, from the leaders to the civilians, knew what was at stake. But for the first time in the war, they had hope. They had seen their strength, their ability to rise above any challenge. The alien fleet arrived in the sky, its ships massive and intimidating. Zolkar's eyes gleamed with malicious confidence as he looked down on Earth from the command center of his flagship. "They think they have a chance," Zolkar sneered, "but they will soon learn just how futile their resistance is." Humanity's fleet rose into the atmosphere, a collective force of strength and ingenuity. The ships, each a testament to human determination, fired on all cylinders as they engaged the alien fleet. The battle raged across the sky, explosions lighting up the night as both sides fought for dominance. Zolkar's ships were powerful, their weapons tearing through Earth's defenses with brutal force. But the humans were prepared. They fought with a fierce tenacity that the alien fleet had never seen before. Each human ship was a masterpiece of engineering, a product of every ounce of creativity and resilience humanity had. The alien forces began to retreat, but Zolkar was not one to admit defeat easily. "Activate the doomsday weapon," he ordered, his voice full of rage. A massive energy cannon, capable of obliterating entire cities, charged up on the flagship. Its power could wipe out any city on Earth in an instant. Zolkar aimed it at the heart of the planet, at the human forces below. In the war room, Archer's eyes widened as he saw the weapon charging up. "They're going to destroy us all," he said, his voice tight. "We need to stop that cannon before it fires." The seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. Archer knew there was only one way to stop the alien weapon. "Get me the EMP pulse," he ordered. Now, the EMP pulse, humanity's last line of defense, was activated once again. But this time, they had modified it, giving it the power to disrupt even the most advanced alien technology. Archer prayed that it would be enough. The pulse shot out from Earth's satellites, targeting the alien flagship. The energy cannon sputtered, then faltered. Zolkar's eyes widened in disbelief as his weapon shut down. "No," he shouted. "This cannot be." The human forces seized the opportunity, launching a final, all-out assault. The skies erupted in a cacophony of explosions as the alien ships fell one by one. Zolkar's fleet, once so confident in its superiority, was now in disarray. On Earth, the people watched as the alien ships began to fall from the sky. The moment of victory was within their grasp. They had fought, they had endured, and they had won. Humanity's strength had shattered the aliens' belief that they were invincible. But Zolkar wasn't done. In a final, desperate move, he ordered the self-destruction of his flagship. The explosion was massive, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The alien fleet was crippled, but the war wasn't over yet. Zolkar's voice echoed one last time across the void. "You may have won today, humans, but we will return. This is not the end." In the aftermath, Earth's survivors gathered, weary but victorious. President Hayes addressed the world once again, her voice filled with pride. "We have proven that no one can break our spirit," she said. "The war is not over, but we stand as a united world, ready to face whatever comes next. Together, we will continue to fight for our future." The world stood at the dawn of a new era, one that would forever be defined by humanity's triumph against impossible odds.